Welcome to today's collective reading. This is TrinityGaiaOracle. In the meditation coming into the reading, there's somewhat of a level up in the strength that the collective has been continually putting the work in, just like you would in a gym. The strength, the muscle awareness of reorienting yourself into the now, spinning that Rubik's Cube back to the pattern of now. Yes, you're aware of these past things that can come up, and you acknowledge them, and just like in a garden, you have to maintain weeding it. Those past things will come up and you're like, okay, yep, I know that, but I'm in the now. I know that, but I'm in the now. I'm here. I'm writing my story. My past is not writing my story. My past hurts, wounds, individuals, dynamics, memories. They're not controlling the choices that I make. I am choosing to write the story. Now that can mean that you're choosing to heal these things. It can mean that you're choosing to transform them, to release them, to surrender them. But they are not the writer of the story. You are writing the transformation of what is in your now. It's not a release of who you are. It's an embracing of who you are, separate from others' perceptions, from other energies and dynamics and memories, especially from 1 second ago, to a day ago, to a week ago, to a year ago, to when you were a little kid, like all of your life. Who are you in the now is not determined upon the happenings of your past. And if you feel them influencing or seeking to influence you, you have leveled up to the extent to be A, aware of that, and B, able to say, you know, I'm choosing to transform this energy. I'm choosing to rewrite the narrative here. I write the story. The first card to come through speaks to the reality that we're raised to believe that we exist in. And that is a very, very broad brush for all of us, because it's formed by so many different archetypes, from our, immediate culture, which would be our family unit, to our school, our spiritual community, the friends that we have, that we play with, and their parents. It takes a community to raise a child. And in that community, the perception of what reality is formed from all of that input. And in this process, what you were raised to believe reality is, and it's set in stone, and it's not negotiable, it's not malleable, it's not ambiguous, you've actually discovered that it is. It is, because you can reframe these energies that surround you, that want you to believe that they're the truth. And these energies could be what it is to be someone who's nurturing, what it is to be someone who is a protector. It's not so rigid. It's not as rigid as you were possibly raised to believe it was. You're realizing that you can mold it to your truth, in your now, in this reality you're living in. What may have worked in the past, be it for another generation, they passed the wisdom on that they could to you. And your generation, your reality, your now, what these terms and ideals and ethics and morals mean, an actual living of them, is going to be a little bit different, because it is a different time. You're in another time. you're surrounded by a completely different community than you were in your past, as those that passed the torch to you were. So you have to be adaptable, yes, but you have leveled up because of that adaptability, that flexibility. You're strong, but you're flexible. It's similar to the concept of, for those of you who are really like hip to exercising, I'm getting this example very clearly coming through. So if you lift weights at the gym and you do a lot of repetitions, but you do them slowly, you're not doing them rapidly, you're going to get more out of it because you're taking the time to do the baby steps, to be patient. There is wisdom to that in strengthening your body. But there's also a whole new layer of the adaptability that comes in of strengthening your body as well in how it moves. The difference between lifting weights and doing like a martial arts or a like qigong or a physical movement that strengthens the body and the muscles the way that it naturally moves. There's a strengthening that's more uniform throughout the muscle. It's not really strong in one spot along the muscle fibers as there would be with just solely weightlifting and doing one motion repetitively and slowly. So you have kind of mixed and matched and, you know, added a little here, taken a little bit there, and you found the balance that works with you for you to be very strong and adaptable, flexible. So you have increased range of motion as well as maintaining that you have and strength. You didn't put all your eggs in one basket. You diversified. That has allowed you to approach these energies as they come to you, these emotions, these memories, these thoughts as they come to you from a perspective of what do I need of what I know to fully understand what's coming to me and how I want to transform it, how I want to change it for my now, because it needs to be adapted to the now. I'm not living in the past. Having personal boundaries has been part of what has strengthened you in this position. It's allowed you to have that time to really exercise that mental, energetic thought, concept, however you want to label this. We don't have an actual word for this, at least to my knowledge. We don't have an actual word that encompasses the full meaning that I'm attempting to channel here and explain. I'd like there to be just one word and it would just mean everything that I'm trying to elaborate here. But setting those personal boundaries, you can be receptive and yet have personal boundaries that are not permeable. There's certain things that you're not willing to compromise on, and there are things that you have a right to not compromise on. Things like, don't lie to me, don't cheat, don't steal, don't, like basic things that make perfect sense for you to be like, I'm done. Whatever you were just trying to do there, like, I'm not co-creating with you. I'm working with this. Those boundaries not being permeable while also being receptive. You have found that balance. And you have certain points that are a little sharper, a little more to the point, a little stronger, and you have some that are a little more malleable because you recognize that every individual, every creation, every moment is a little different. And you're willing to, with those things, take the time to sit with them before you really decide where the boundary is, before you firm it into a point of this is how I perceive it, and this is where my boundary is. And this may mean that at times you take some time to retreat, to pull away from it, whatever the situation may be, so you know exactly why and where you stand. So you can move forward with clear intention. And it's respect for yourself as well as anyone else that's involved with that particular boundary that's needing to be found for you. And this is not just going to be thoughts, emotions, and energetic. It could be very physical. It could be all of that is not physical coming into the physical. That's where it hardens, that's where it comes to the point of this is where the boundary is. and you know all of the reasons why. And you may find yourself at times feeling overwhelmed by all of it. It's like pulling out every drawer of your past and trying to sift and make connections between all of them, and just getting, like, your circuits are overheated. It may be overwhelming, and the key to this situation is to be okay with knowing that this is bigger than you. That most people, like, this is warrior path. This is not for the faint of heart. And to be okay with not just asking for help, but being okay with receiving it. Now, this is going right again into the boundaries. So you ask for assistance, so you ask for help. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the help that decides to come through is actually there to help you. It may be, yet again, another aspect of, well, where is the boundary with this energy? How much of what this energy is bringing to me am I willing to work with? Am I not willing to work with? Is this energy actually being a loving mirror to me versus, it being on me to be a loving mirror to it? And this energy could be an individual. It could be an ancestor, a guide. It could be an unknown to you. It could be question mark, supposedly you're here to help me. So instead of feeling like, and just owning that it's always on me to be a loving mirror, is this energy being a loving mirror to you? Is what you're feeling and experiencing coming in when you ask for this help actually a loving experience? Does it make you feel safe and at ease and peaceful and empowered? Or does it make you a little uneasy and you don't know why? That can be a challenge. That could be a way of, like, being helped to hone your discernment. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is assistance in a form that is challenging you to firm up the boundary, to look at the energy of this energy coming in and go, I'm not quite sure. And until you're sure, you don't firm the boundary. But once you're sure, know that once you're firm on that, that's what it is to you. You wrote that in. That is part of your story. I came to this conclusion, period. And then you can continue to move through these moments of, yet again, being receptive to receiving assistance if you ask for help, if you ask for support. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, Ebenezer Scrooge in like the Ghost of Christmas Past, the Ghost of Christmas Present, and the Ghost of Christmas Future. Like, you could be working with different energies that present to you in a way to help you really know where you do stand. And eventually you do get to a point where you're like, I'm pretty much sure exactly what I want to do. These energies don't necessarily then be labeled good or bad. It's not so binary. It's very complicated. And that's where the honing of the discernment comes in. This is the medicine. This is the antidote, because as you have become more and more aware, and you've strengthened and yet remained flexible, you're the antidote. Like, you're giving yourself the antidote by honing this discernment. And as you've moved through this, you become more and more informed, more and more sensitive, more and more aware because of the boundaries you've already set. It kind of reminds me of like a hourglass, and how it just slowly makes down to a tiny little point, And it's all by design. So the exact amount of sand in that hourglass will be like, for example, exactly 1 hour. But you start out and you have all this information on the very top layer of the sand. It's the broadest surface area. And as it sifts down, the surface area gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until you know exactly when it's been 1 hour and that last grain of sand falls through. It's you being at that point. And you have been supported and helped through this, if nothing more than by being connected with all of you. Future you, past you, higher self, your ancestors, you. There's also a highlighting of the assertive voice that you give yourself and that you have allowed to be transformed and changed from one state to another within yourself. It's allowed you to see that when these energies come to you, are they being a loving mirror to you, not only in a receptive state or a feminine state? You're looking for people for these energies to mirror balance to you now, because you're balanced. So now when you encounter individuals and energies and they are not necessarily a loving mirror, they're a little triggered by you because you are in a state of balance. So when you do have assistance that comes through, you're looking for that assistance, especially if you specifically ask for it, that it be balanced just as well as you are. And if it's not, you may be actually helping to heal consciousnesses, conscious beings that aren't on this plane of existence by mirroring to them where they're out of balance. You could be working interdimensionally to help people, to help individuals. I mean, for lack of words for it. And you have really firmed up what it means to you to be balanced, to simplify it, to not have it necessarily be this, 1,000-page novel, but to really bring it down to its core essence, which is, who are you as you are? In this moment, who are you as you are? Not who are you in your past, or who are you wanting to be in the future. Who are you right now as you are? And owning that power, that knowledge, that awareness, you stand apart because you know the truth of that. And there are others that are like that as well. When you encounter them, they know. And you become that key for them. They see that loving mirror in you, and it inspires them to break through whatever is restricting them from being who they are as they are. They may be trapped in this construct within their own being of who they're expected to be, who they are feeling that they must be. And their soul, their spirit, their self, they themselves know that they're not a loving mirror to those that they care about in the situation they're trapped in. Because how can you be when you feel like you're trapped? How can you be who you are as you are when you're basically being controlled and manipulated to play a part in order to keep everything around you going, yet you're not happy in it? Like it's very much like a thing of you being who you are as you are, being that loving mirror, because you love yourself. You're balanced within yourself, and they see that, and it triggers them to realize that they themselves are not in that state, because your energies don't co-create, they don't mingle, they don't harmonize. And that's not okay with them, because they maybe don't see themselves as separate from you. Maybe they're soul tribe, and maybe they know they're soul tribe, and they're realizing that you've elevated, you've done the healing, and they haven't yet. So it is a triggering moment, and aha, the light bulb comes on of it's possible because you've done this for me to do this too. and they seek to break free from that traps them, that restrains them, to catch the same awareness as you, as you basically like dropped the wisdom in their hands right in their face, and they're like, I'm going to catch this, but I have to break free. Like the shattering of the glass, the shattering of the ice, willing to break the illusion that has been woven around their life that they are powerless, because it really is an illusion. It's not the truth. The universe, source, the divine, however you word this force for yourself, however you label it, what this force would like you to know, apart from all of this, overall, in particular, and that is that when you lack a personal direction, a purpose, when you don't know what you want or where you're going or what you desire, it makes it far easier for those to decide for you where to direct your energy, where to direct what you create for you. And you end up becoming somewhat of a pawn in their game of life, in their strategy, where it's like you're not the main character in the story because you're a pawn in theirs. The moment that you own where you want to be, what your purpose is, what matters to you, what you're passionate about, what you are willing to always pursue no matter what, like come hell or high water, you're gonna get there. Like country song, lyrics just ran through my mind. And I would walk 1,000 miles and I would walk 1,000 more. That kind of thing. That is purpose. That passion, when you don't have it directed to something like that for you, that you feel that driven towards, you become a pawn in someone else's strategy, and all that power gets directed where they want it to be. But you have dreams. You have purpose. You know what you're passionate about. You know what you want. And no matter how much sometimes these energies may try to make you feel like you're powerless, come the end of the day, it's your life, it's your energy, and you will always have priority over what is yours, to be able to speak over it, over any other energy. It is yours. You can choose to give your power away and believe the illusion that you're powerless. That is your choice. And believe me, they want me to speak from personal here. The illusions can be very tempting to believe, and it's not just thought or logic, it's emotion, it's memory, it's transference, it's projection. It can be very tangled and confusing, but there's one thing that is always true, and you can see this in some of the paranormal shows that you watch, where they're dealing with the unseen, with what we don't have necessarily, like, yes, ghosts are proven to be real, but there's ways of detecting, and so on and so forth. But the phrase that consistently brought me to felt really resonated in these shows, it's only mentioned a time or two, but you as a physical being belong in this realm. You are alive here. Anything that is seeking to speak over your experience or influence you or cause you to be in a state of fear, by default, only has that power if you choose to give it to that. Your energy belongs here, and you will always be more powerful than anything that doesn't belong here, especially if it seeks to keep you in a state of disempowerment. So your dreams, your purpose, what matters to you, own that. Own that. Come back to, I have power to speak over my life, over any other energy or consciousness, period. That is the divine within you. You are aware of self for a reason, because you have proven through lifetimes and lifetimes that you're here for a reason, and you have this power for a reason. And it doesn't belong to anyone else. God, divine, source, has allowed you to be aware of that for a reason. Because you're capable of that. You're capable of saying, no, this is mine. You don't get to dictate my life. I'm going in this direction. I'm not a pawn in your chess game. I'm not, a support character in your story. This is my life. I'm the main character in my story. And you can do whatever you want to do from there. You can say, you're just an extra. You're a backup. You only do things with the setting in the background. You support by bringing coffee to the staff. Or you can say straight up, you're not a part of this anymore. Like, however that goes for you, you speak over your story and your life, and you choose who and what you create. Who, what, where, when, why, and how you create your story. You determine all of it. You're no pawn. That's very clear. That was like unison. Many guides were coming through saying to you, you are no one's pawn. It's an invitation to be receptive to these messages, to own them as yours, to, if you identify with them, to really like, yes, this is affirmed, this is a synchronicity, I claim this, right? This is mine. I own this statement, right? That kind of a thing. So first off, it is saying that it is foundational to you, reaffirming that you're no one's pawn. It is foundational to your existence that you can speak to your life, that you write your story, and that this is your offering of yourself, the completion, the union within you, the balance within you, is owning that you can speak to what happens in your life. And if you need to step in and be, mom or dad and just, have this, like, no, this is how it's going to be, and these are consequences, and like maybe, whatever, like, you can create that balance. You can call for justice yourself. You don't need to wait for something outside of you to do that for you. You can know that justice, that answer through yourself, and being you as you are, it becomes your story. And that has a ripple effect, because you're then being that loving mirror, because you're not tolerating X, Y, or Z. It's you having that makes it so that you are that offering, knowing that you are the channel through which justice can come through in your life because of what you know, and then how you choose to move in the now, how you choose to transform. It is your foundational right. It's not almost like it's basic human right kind of an aspect, but basic spiritual awareness, energetic being right, to know that you could speak justice over your own life, over your own story. The next statement is that you're not in a state of, it's like there's so much excitement about this statement. Oh boy. No longer are you in a state of disappointment and sadness and feeling just like it's all anticlimactic, because there has been a radical change with the Tower to the experience of what it is to have 10 of Pentacles. There has been a radical change, like a breakdown of what it means to you to be, what it looks like, what it could feel like, how you are in pursuit of that you desire. You're no longer disappointed, because what the 10 of Pentacles was possibly presented to you as in your reality and how your community brought you up to a view what that would be, has radically shifted. You have transformed, and thus the Tower has come in to have that domino effect. Like, you change within self, you write your story, change will then occur to how you view the ultimate happiness, especially when it has to do with intuition and possibly romantic and emotional happiness. You've done that work. It's no longer a disappointment to you. In specific, maybe it's like a thing where relationships or marriages or being a parent, or what that looks like for you at one point was more like a business arrangement than something that really fed your soul and allowed you to feel like you were actually alive. You've transformed it from something that felt empty and trapping to something that can actually feel like you're flying even though you're grounded. To being anchored, like you're a kite. You're up there just enjoying floating on the air, but you know you're not going to blow away. You know that you have an anchor. And then the last message that came through here with the receptive energy is that there's a determination, almost a sense of like you have nothing to lose. So why not? Like, you write your own story, you elaborate and you emphasize and you teach, and you, like any good storyteller, will elaborate at certain parts and get everybody just like hanging on the edge of their seat, even if it becomes more and more fictional as it goes. That's a storyteller. You write your story, yes, but how you narrate it to yourself, how you speak about your own life versus telling stories to others, is very different. And you have such a focus, even though you're possibly feeling like you're the oasis surrounded by desert, or you're looking for that. You are unwilling to accept that it doesn't exist. And because of that, why not keep looking for it? Why not be receptive to the concept that it does exist? Maybe you'll encounter it, maybe you won't. But if you're not open to encountering an oasis, you will definitely never encounter an oasis. So why not be open to the concept that the oasis exists somewhere, and maybe you'll just stumble upon it in this giant desert because you're unwilling to give up hope. Even if you feel you have nothing, you have hope, and that is a lot more than some have. And that is something you can't put a price tag on. It is priceless. So why not? Why not have hope? Why not remain open to the concept that you will encounter the oasis? As you change, the oasis maybe becomes something that exists because you are willing to create space for it. In the assertive energy, what you're being invited to embrace, to empower, to own, to act upon, to move from this space is this very charged, passionate, even if I have nothing to offer, I think, at least, other than hope. I'm willing to own that I create my reality, that I write my story, that I'm present in my now and my past. I choose to transform it. It doesn't control my current moment now or the future that I create. I am no one's pawn. I am the main character in my story. That place, that truth, that resonance, that passion, that purpose. Yes, there's energies that don't want you to own this because they like you being a pawn. But the moment you decide you're not, they're powerless to do anything about it, and they know it. To embrace that space. Yes, there is quite a bit of energy that came through of a lot of illusion, a lot of heaviness that makes you feel like you can't move forward, that you're incredibly burdened, that everything that you planned isn't working, that you're not balanced in assertive energy. But this is all illusion. This is all dispelled the moment that you decide, I'm no one's pawn. And I'm definitely not this energy's pawn. You know how much energy went into placing this level of oppression over you? A lot. And oppression like in your thoughts, in your dreams, in your feelings. there's a lot of energy. They are, how do I want to put it? Like this energy bet everything and the house and the shirt off their back because they're desperate. They want you to buy that they're powerful, and in reality, if you don't buy it, they lose everything because they've gambled everything that you would believe the lie, the illusion. And the moment that you own that you are no one's pawn, you are no backstage character in someone else's story, and the reality is it's your life, you're the main character. No one gets to take your place in your life and control your direction. You have a right to be the main character in your story, regardless of the consequence that these energies or this energy now has to deal with. And in reality, there's a statement that I was raised with hearing, and I'm sure some of you can relate, which is tough love is sometimes the greatest love you can show someone. There are consequences, and they need to know that there's consequences, because someone else, if they do this to someone else, they may not be as kind or as loving to give them a consequence like you're grounded for a week. They may actually get their ass beat. And as a parent, you want to prevent that from happening. This energy that's seeking to oppress you is almost a feeling of like an errant, rebelling child, not the adult. You're the parent. You're not the pawn. They are the student. You're the teacher. When you own the strength that is within you, that you're not that pawn. Yes, they learn, but it may be a thing where they have a consequence that they don't like and that you don't want to see them experience, but the consequences of them not having that are going to be far worse for them. So it's almost more compassionate. No, it is more compassionate to express that it is time for them to understand consequences. Because with you and in this environment, those consequences are going to be far less than if you were to not own your power. The consequence they may experience then, later, with some other dynamic, will be far worse than what they would experience now. That is in particular for a fair amount of individuals tuning in, but not necessarily all of you. However, owning that this is a concept that you can be like, all right, I identify with that. I can see that in a hypothetical scenario. Should it end up happening? Yeah, I would agree. And you may find yourself in that scenario somewhere in your now, in the future. But firming that perspective up right now, hearing that truth, you may be surprised where it may end up applying at some point. And it's you owning it. It's your truth. No one gave that to you. You owned it. Authentically you. However these messages that come through resonate for you, it is always you writing your story. You are no one's pawn. And you're present in your now, and you're tending to those weeds that show up, those thoughts or those emotions or those energies that wish to sway you away from the truth. And that is that you write your story. They don't. The weed in the garden isn't the main attraction. It's that beautiful flower, or that, like that tomato plant that is giving you sustenance, and you're nurturing it. It's what you're giving to, and the weed takes from it. So you keep weeding, like pulling the weeds out. You write your story. You choose how things change. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Do check out my Insight Timer profile page up above. It's free. There's free meditations available there. The divine within me honors the divine within you. Namaste.